for that.
Okay, now we are back. I lost progress on how many meetups we did in the past, but
I think we are on 55 right now.
Oh, so it's like
in the English version. So we have also a German version. So I guess we are about 80 or something like that.
Yeah, probably. We did a little summer break because nobody was available and figured that it might be a little too much. But for today, we thought about like observability and security themes or topics, especially since Niklas influenced eBPF and the project, which we will talk about in a minute, at Container Days. And yeah, I'm looking forward to learn something new today.
Yeah, from my side, we can start. So probably.
I think you have prepared something, at least.
A little bit. So
to tell
probably
something.
it will be like a more like an adventure. So I have only installed the CLI, nothing more, and prepared a cluster because we later need the cluster. So let me share my screen, and I need to check if I don't have anything
Probably
left open.
it makes sense to start with the documentation of Pixie,
Yeah, I will do.
Which we are talking about now.
Give me a second. I look for the right side. Okay, cool. Share screen.
Probably some.
I hold this up.
Now we will be seeing.
Cool. Is it? No,
yeah,
it's the wrong. Wait, this side. Cool.
It's a really short domain.
Yeah, but funny is there's also a cloud service offering, and this is called work with Pixie.ai. So it's also going to the same project. We will talk in terms of what you can host on premise and what you can use from the project later. Okay, I need to move this a little
Probably
bit.
For context, Pixie was, I think, a company or a standalone open source project and was acquired by New Relic 2 years ago or something like that, and has been contributed to the CNCF, which was shown at the bottom. So it's a sandbox project now in the Cloud Native Computing Foundation.
Okay, then you're more informed than me. So I know that it was built up from some big use case that they used. And the most interesting part, why you asking now why we should talk about a new observability tool in the end, is mostly how Pixie is working in the end. So since typically you would see that you need to instrument your applications for the observability, for example, like seeing traces, seeing requests and all the stuff, or you probably do it like on a different layer in terms of like on a service mesh. But right now, these days, a lot of people probably switching to the new shiny thing that's called eBPF, that birthday packet filters in the end, that can inspect all packets that fly through your system. And these can be used then to write, because an eBPF rule is like a simple program, and you can act on each packet that goes through your server. And so they're using this technique in the end to analyze your whole application stack. Instead of instrumenting your application inside your application or getting the observability, they do it on the infrastructure level on Kubernetes. So here we can see directly on the side, okay, how a service could look like. We can also see the pods that are currently running. They're also more focused on the SIE topics, typically with SLOs and all the stuff. And it's simple, like you deploy it, and I want to see if they see it's like the request things. Yeah, and you don't need to instrument directly your things. And also cool is like that you can also not use it in Kubernetes. You can use it on any Linux VM outside. So you can also probably have some services. Typically, I recommend people that starting with Kubernetes not directly run stateful services in your cluster, because it adds a lot of headache and complexity. Mostly I would advise run database how you know to run it as a service. If you use it as service, if you are familiar to run it on a server, then use it as a server. And this is where also Pixie can help you for that, in terms of like giving you the observability to the database, so that you get the full trace in terms of from the application to the database and so on. Everything can be in your private or public network. And the most interesting idea that we are using is here the eBPF. So I did not start with all things. It can be run on every Kubernetes. So for today, we will leverage a short EKS cluster. So I set it up already and managed EKS cluster that we have for playing around a little bit in terms of with nothing really currently running here. So you can see we're running some services only, and it's like a fresh cluster. I hope everything will work later, and with only one node. So right now. Yeah, so the main idea how it works is like, I need now to switch to my other slides. To this slide deck, yeah, cool. So that you would have also probably, like while we're talking about the Pixie cloud, is like you can have the visualization of all multiple clusters can be done then in the general Pixie API that will send all the, not all the events, but you have like a unified UI. So for that, I already also registered, I guess, so with it, Pixie. I need to check it later from the CLI. This is the script that we used for Pixie Labs. That's what I'm looking for. So this is the login. Let's log in. I logged in my Google account. And now it logs in. Takes a minute. And now this is what you see directly at Pixie. So we have no cluster currently configured, and now we want to get some visibility, and later also setting up a demo app in the end. So for that, but we have a demo. Okay, that's interesting. I need to check for the getting your first Pixie guide. So we have mostly what we did already. So we installed the CLI. In terminal, you get the cool output. So when I look back into my terminal, you see here that I already run this. I would never recommend people to do that. In terms of check please the script first that you're injecting, and don't do a bash injecting a script what's coming from some internet endpoint, because probably it could be run malicious code on your system. I would not recommend it. But for flexibility, it's like quite good. And now we need to deploy Pixie on our cluster. So for that, since Pixie comes with an own CLI, so you don't install it with Helm charts, you can directly install it via the px deploy command. So let's check. Let's check if my cluster is available. So for example, I press private nodes. Yeah, everything is running. Cool. And let's deploy Pixie. And I need to wait. I need to check if I have a jump keyboard. Okay. And now really checking the cluster, if everything can be deployed. So let's wait. What's happening here?
So basically, you just ran a Pixie CLI command, and it automatically deploys the corresponding Kubernetes resources in the cluster?
Yeah, everything what you need for Pixie, and probably also, so we get like a guided through. So it asks me if the cluster is correct. Yes, this cluster is correct. I have also to check, so it uses the OLM, so this is the operator lifecycle manager. So this is coming mostly from Red Hat to install. So it installs in our namespace, it installs the vSizer component, and now deploying the application stack. So for the cluster, I already created only the cluster with EKS-CTL, so a simple cluster. And with a simple managed node group of 1, so nothing special. So that because then it's quite easy to get started with a cluster. So you need only to say create cluster, and then you have your cluster mostly. So for cloud, and now it's waiting for coming to the cloud connector online. I check. It asks me also when I installed the CLI to connect directly to the authenticating directly against the Pixie cloud. So that's the reason you need to have probably it installed, but you can also skip it. So when I skip this, you would have probably not the visualized component. And let's check what's happening in our UI these days. Is this what? No. Okay, we see only Pixie. Let's wait what's happening. I'll wait for PMs, waiting for Pixie pass safe checks. Will we see something in here on the UI? I hope so. Let's check announcements. Okay, nothing interesting. Ah, you see, our cluster is now appearing. It still says unhealthy, but let's wait until it gets healthy. I think it takes a little bit of time. Yeah, and in the end, what it installs, we can look back into the slides that I had prepared of a graphic. So it installs all the visualizer components. It's mostly for communication between the different modules, and the core component is to get all the information is the Pixie Edge module. So this reads directly out of the Linux kernel, the eBPF events, or like evaluate the functions of the eBPF. And this gives them the information back to a message queue in the end. And then some other services can use it. For example, like the proxy server from the Pixie cloud can then use it in terms of, okay, we now know what's going on. So that's how it's currently works so far, what I know. And yeah, so they store also the data there I've also linked it. Let's check also in the meantime for the tutorials. So to get the there was like a new install rights, community cloud. Let me check for testing an app. Here, use Pixie. Yeah, so we can also use them later for demo apps to monitor everything. We can check them also using the CLI. It gives us some available service. So probably some people of you know already from all days the sock shop. So this is like a works. It's like a microservice demo. So it's like a demo application that you can see that every service is running. So each service or each domain has its own service to see some traffic in the cluster to simulate some things. And probably there's also like another shop from Google that you can use. Yeah, but there's mostly no difference. And the cool thing is also that and there will we probably see later the result why Pixie is more strongful instead of like instrumenting our apps directly by ourselves. It's like, yeah, probably in our microservice architecture, we have different programming languages. So some services are written in Java, some written are in Node.js, some are written in Go. Probably now we need to instrument all the applications, but with Pixie, we can abstract it a little bit, put it back onto the infrastructure layer, and Pixie will do then the job. So no Go developer needs to do the instrumentation. No Java developer needs to do the implementation. We put it back to the infrastructure layer. Let's check in the meantime how fast it goes, waiting for Pixie to pass the health check. Okay. I hope it doesn't, so I'm not restricted in my environment in terms of the so we see already the first error message.
This is good.
Yeah, okay, let's check.
I couldn't read the error message, but
the pods are starting. This pod is still in pending mode. And we need to wait until the pods.
Resources available, maybe.
Resource should be not a problem. Let me switch to the PL namespace. That's interesting that they're still pending. They are probably initting waiting on the metadata service and the metadata service. Check for a second.
The system volume claim not found.
Okay, so since we don't have any storage, that will be interesting. But why? Wait. Try describe. Let's see. Let's check.
Did the AWS cluster not provision that?
By default, yes, but I think they changed it. Okay, so now the error message is here mostly that they say waiting for volume. I can create it by an external provision by the EBS CSI or manual by system administrator. Now I need to think how we can.
I would copy paste the message into Google.
Yeah, but that's boring. We need to think before we copy it.
Yeah, no, you need to add PX in the end. Otherwise, we could get results for non-Pixie solutions.
I'm not sure if that's a Pixie problem. I think that's the problem.
No, it's the storage of our cluster, but I'm wondering because let me check something. Can we not initiate with volumes?
You're using the web interface.
Yeah, but I can inject in terms of EKS supports us add-ons, so we can install here the EBS CSI driver that was mentioned here. And this is like the controller.
Okay.
Yeah, because in fuck, I know it. There was a breaking change in EKS on 123, and we deployed 123, and you need to have the EBS CSI driver. Otherwise, storage is not working anymore, because in storage providers on EKS, since mostly until 1.22, the EBS provider or the volume provider was built in the Kubernetes control plane. So that's we call it in-tree plugins. And this got moved out into 123. And now for persistent volumes, you need to run the for dynamic provisioning, like what we see. That's the reason why he says external provisioner. That we need to have it here. So then let's, I hope we can easily pitch it. Let's add it, and hopefully it will work by itself. And we need now to have the storage driver. So the EBS storage driver is like an independent driver. But let me check, because CTL, EBS, it's never that I read the documentation, because we had the same problems in production clusters when we but I need to have the row, right? Let's check. So typically now all the pods should coming up, or you should, here you see, this is like the controller that we are currently running. And this is now for attaching the volumes directly to the node. Now we could have like a problem in terms of that. We need to check for the logs. So it's just throwing the name. Yeah, we should probably wait a little bit, and it should probably resolve by itself since it's self-healing.
I think I was wondering if Pixie works with K3s.
They have a documentation for Minikube.
Because like then you could be running it in Civo Cloud, for example.
Let me check. Didn't start.
But maybe it's not officially
They're using K0s.
What's that?
It's like K3S is still smaller. It's coming from the Mirantis people.
Okay.
But I would say it's a little bit the same. So here you see you provide also like a storage class. So we need to fix it. So
and probably this is in the EKS guide as well.
No.
Oh, okay.
Probably it comes out, but I think no one deployed it with 123. So that could be more of a problem. And on Minikube, it says blah blah blah. Minikube probably comes also with a default storage provider, so it's also not a problem.
Yeah, this session would be something for Corey Quinn. Debugging EKS.
Okay. Now we have further. The controller says that he doesn't have enough permission to create it. Yeah, we're fixing this now. It's also quite simple. Or not simple. It's like we do not like this would be not best practices. Now for the demo purpose, it's fine. But typically what you would do is like when you have these add-ons installed, it says here the service account role is inherited from the node. Typically you would do like a separate service account to manage those access privileges. So to have like simpler simpler rules, we give now the service node role also the option to create the volumes. And then it will be fixed so that we don't need to create an independent service account role. Best practice would be create an independent service account role. And yeah, so let me check. Yes. Yeah, I am. We started not from here somewhere. Let me check. This is I. ABS, CSI driver, choice. Docs, I guess so. Cool. Yeah, we need to have like these policies adopted to our role so that we can create the nodes of the CSI things. So we copying it and jumping back to the IAM. And okay, next time I test it. Blah blah. Roles. Now we're interesting, which is the right one. Node instance role. Cool. So and now we add permission, an inline policy. As I said, this is not best practice. We fix it now, like with a workaround. Okay. What?
You have a blank line, line 1. I think that's what the error
What
is
the
saying.
fuck? Yeah, that's the reason why I use infrastructure as code for everything mostly.
Yeah, totally.
EBS. Okay. So and you see, for example, like each node get access to the registry so that he can pull the registry images directly so that you don't need to re-authenticate, and also like he has privileges to describe his own instance or all instances, so it's probably also a little bit shut down, and also to get access to the SSM. SSM is a different topic, but now we give also all nodes the options to create the things by themselves, and hopefully now it will be resolved by the next round trip of the volume. Check create. But this event is 3 minutes ago. What is the read time? Yeah, let's wait a little bit in the end. I guess it will be fixed by that. For ensuring so that I'm not attached it to the wrong node, we can also look into the EC2. So, funny. We have here our node, and it says blah blah blah. This is the node role. And I hope, yeah, I attached it to the correct one. Cool. So was a good shot. But then it will be complex when trying new nodes. Okay. You see, now it shifted from he doesn't find any status, he's in pending state. And now it would access creating the volume. And now I guess yeah, so the metadata service is now in the running state. The first applications are coming up, and now it should work. At the end, I hope so. I'm more the traditional guy, so I do something like that. We can simply wait a bit. There, we're checking now the Kelvin help stack. Now all applications, all pods for I would know. Okay, what is the metadata? So let's check it.
Maybe it collects like application metadata from deployed services or applications that we would like to monitor or something like that.
I want to know if which database it is or if it's an own source. Okay, it's an own source, but okay. It's not like a simple standard metadata source or like a simple database only. Okay, now is he waiting for over health checks? I hope. Let's check. Okay. Something did not work. But let's check what's the UI says. Fail to get credentials, Pixie off JSON. Should I do this? I will check if everything. Let's redeploy it and check if it's only timing out.
Is there a way to provide like credentials when running this command? Because maybe this is missing. It's like the config for Docker registry authentication or something like that seems very similar.
Because let me check if we can redeploy it. Should be now a little faster. So they have something like pigs off. Okay, now it should start. Let's check. What was the error? Merge file.
I think it was .pixie /config JSON or something like that in home.
Okay, something is there. So probably my BR token expired already. As we can. Oh, that's muted.
Oh, the cloud connector had a crash loop back off.
No, that should be why.
Okay, it's gone. I know it turned into error.
Yeah, probably has the configuration problem. You see, he's calling on the nuts management. And is this running? Okay, it takes some time. Okay, this is like what Kubernetes is mostly. We wait and check if the application recovers by itself. So since it's self-healing, we should not, and this is like mostly error prone when you start with it. So when you be too greedy and shading too often, sometimes you need only to wait a little bit until the state is mostly matched. Yeah, there's sometimes timing issues. Okay. So let's wait. Let's check what's in the UI. Ah, come on. We see something more? No? Or is it? Oh, it's still broken. Okay.
What happens when you click on chat with us?
Yeah, then we need to chat with them.
Interesting.
Ah, they're using intercom. Oh, cool.
Maybe we can ask them for help and tell them they're live in the internet right now.
Probably I know the problem. I need to accept the cookies, otherwise it doesn't work. So since the website doesn't can track me. But you're right, it's coming from New Relic. So
Refer to, there's a docs URL in the error message.
okay, let's check why we don't get this solved.
Too many open files. Ooh.
Yeah, but I don't have them running in.
Is it LSOF to see open file handlers?
Yes, I think.
But it's different on Mac OS and Linux.
Do you mean that?
Yeah, but potentially a LSOF pipe grab file name. Yeah, no, we don't want to change that.
Can I not see return to you limit? Unlimited.
Yeah, but the for some reason something tries to read the file too often.
Probably with CLI script.
It's strange.
Okay, then let's check what we can do.
Strange error messages.
What is that?
Is it now healthy again? No.
Yeah, it's healthy.
Okay. Yeah, because unlimited for open files is typically more than the value you have set.
Let's check the doors. My deployment sequence. What does it show?
It seems I found an issue where it says to delete and redeploy the PVC again.
What? Why?
Read the issue first before you do something.
Did you send it to me?
Yeah, in the Zoom chat. Maybe this provides some insights.
We don't have a cert provisioner.
Okay.
That's okay.
But it has the same error message.
No. No, fuck. I should also delete the other one. It's redeployed. I deleted the whole namespace and then check. And also no PVCs anymore there. So I checked it. PV is also not there, right? So yeah. Oh wait. I'm there connected. I hope so to write notes. I check.
It's redeployed. You deleted a namespace right now.
Yeah, I redeploy now so that we get so it was easier to instead of installing.
Okay.
I deleted the whole namespace so that the PVC is also gone.
Yeah,
But I thought that the operator will recreate everything. Yes.
Okay.
But it did not.
I'm not sure if that's an operator in the background. Is it?
Yeah, they have something like with Pixie operator. Let's wait.
Yeah, there's actually a namespace for the Pixie operator.
Yeah, page operator. You can see it underneath. So sweet. And you see now everything will be re-provisioned.
Yeah, the thing you are not seeing, I was just looking at the install guides in the docs.
Really not this like really manuals for.
Yeah, that's the thing with an IKEA furniture instruction manual. You need to read it to do it.
No. When you can get it done without the manual, you're cooler.
Yeah, this works for every other vendor for furniture because the instruction manual usually is not usable. But for IKEA, it works oftentimes. Anyhow, there also is like the sock shop, which is inside the Pixie CLI. Interesting.
Yeah, you can Pixie demo. So that's what we wanted to try after the health check is passing. So now we need to cross our fingers And hopefully the health check will now pass.
It's kind of weird form of debugging.
And this is the mentality, so that you need to recreate everything. So that it's repeatable.
Yeah, it's kind of reminds me of Windows just rebooted, and it's like the German thing is like reboot tut gut. So reboot is nice. Doesn't rhyme, but yeah, oftentimes it's like feeling blocked, and it's easier to just delete everything and recreate it from scratch and then go again. We could install Cilium Tetragon to monitor the health state of Pixie. And if that is not enough, we can also install
then we are in the
Prometheus operator.
Debugging eBPF programs because they are competing against each other. Yeah, that's what I ever wanted to do. So
I think it succeeded, right?
Yes, it succeeded. Nice.
Nice.
So first we look on the UI because I'm more of a UI guy.
Oh wow. It was so bright. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was white. Now we see everything here.
Can you zoom in? Or is there like an activity you can do?
I can click. That's what I can do.
Can you drag and drop things? No.
It takes a little bit of time. Yeah. So this is be interesting in terms of in terms of Pixie, you don't need to write eBPF rules. So you can write they call it Pixie scripts. So and this is a simple abstraction about the eBPF rule. And for example, we don't have anything like for AMP or but HTTP data should flow. Let's see. And here you see, for example, we never instrumented the application, but we can see how the request is flowing. So, and we see also the latencies.
And Pixie scripts are written using the Pixie language, a DSL, domain-specific language, that follows the API of the popular Python data processing library Pandas. Pandas uses data frames to represent tables of data. That's described in the docs. Okay.
It's like a little bit similar to Hubble.
Because the code looks familiar to Python.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's not mine. Yeah, for example, we can also see HTTP requests, but can we also look into the body? No, that would be cool.
You could write your first Pixie script.
I would probably go first with deploying demo applications that we have some data in there.
Yeah, okay.
So to see the service, and then we can test out what we can use there. So what I now saw in terms of data retention, I don't know, but I don't know where it is. So so interesting here is here. This is what I now see as really true things. Okay, we don't have any SQL queries, but we had something. DNS data. Yeah, here, for example, you can see also each service which DNS query was made from which service. And then you see also the request header of the query and where he's querying for. So, and you could also do this later then with HTTP requests. So we saw it already. So here we can inspect, for example, posts, and to check what's happening there, or we can also do I don't know what this is. And here we, for example, can also see normal HTTP requests what come in from flow to flow. So simple GET requests.
So the basic idea, if I understood it right, would be to now, we're able to deploy any application, and it should be displayed within the Pixie UI without doing anything more. So we can create own Pixie scripts for, I don't know, aggregating metrics, or what is the relation between the scripts and
that's
the
correct.
deployment?
That's
Okay.
fully correct. That
So
would be also my assumption now.
so basically, my only experience, I only have fairly limited experiences in the observability and monitoring context, but I recently had contact with Prometheus and Grafana, and yeah, I tried to set up this one, and there I went for like the service monitor architecture, where you add service monitors for your deployments, and the PROM operator will fetch the metrics via service monitors, via service monitor layer. So this would be the same thing without having a service monitor for a resource, right? So that's where
it's quite different, because you are talking now about metrics, and we're talking here about more about traces of data and logs or events. So because a metric in the end is like only like, for example, a metric is like, okay, I get 200 on the following endpoint, but it's like not, you cannot see which data is in there. So you get only like,
okay, so it's
like an indicator. It's only an indicator. It's not like the real data. So here we can really see the process data that was happened.
okay.
So for example, like, I don't know, okay, IP doesn't work, but JVM will be later interesting. And for example, we can also see like MySQL data that flows through the cluster and all the stuff. So with metrics, so there is like my favorite, is it pillars of observability? So I really can recommend, so where we are fitting fixing. So mostly observability is mostly all the three of kinds of things. So we have one pillar of metrics. So these are mostly like really lightweight. So they are gradable. So that means that you do doing calculations on top of it to get like notifications of the state of your system. Traces are really the requests that are happening. So this can be like on HTTP based, this can be on TCP based. So for example, like with SQL queries and all the stuff. So they are more heavy, have more context. And then in the other thing, what everyone knows is probably logs. What we also can call is equal to an event in the end. So that something is happening and you get a lot of more context. So sometimes people are trying to pretend to doing like logging on the console logs and using this also as an event system. But most people know these days starting with tracing and to get there the event data in there. So to see how is communication from service A to service B and so on. I should need to be made like so bright light. I think it's triggered, but it's what I recognize now. Yeah, and here you can also see in the article, so also what is the volume in terms of how many data needs to be stored. So metrics are quite simple and they're compact, so they can be stored easily. You don't need to have a heavy infrastructure. For storing logs, for example, probably you want to store all your logs of your application. You need probably to spin up an Elasticsearch or something like that. These are really heavy. So these systems are mostly the most loaded systems in your environment. And the other thing is like traces are a little bit more compound. So they're a little bit not so heavy like normal log events, but they're also more heavier than metrics. They're in the middle of them. So for example, like when you want now to make an correlation between this, so for example, you jump from your metric into a trace, or the trace can show you the metric to which it connects to. So this is what we call, when you put it on metrics, it's called exemplars, mostly, that you put more information on that, so that you can typically do a drill down. So what would happen is like that you probably get an alert from your metric, because the metric is mostly freaking out because the threshold was missed. And then you have information, okay, please look now in these traces that are currently could issue it. And then you have the correlation back to it. And so then you go from top to bottom.
Yeah, and
so
it becomes even more complicated when you're looking at more data, which can be seen as like observability data, like error tracking or profiling has been like suggested to being added as an event type or data type to OpenTelemetry, and even more things basically to look at and correlate.
The good thing that I really like about this CLI does every time for which cluster to deploy to. Because sometimes when you are connected to multiple clusters, you probably deploy it to the run.
And
Okay.
another thought around like exemplars, I've seen that there was a pull request merged and also reverted later for OpenTelemetry, so that when Prometheus is sending the exemplar data, so like the span ID and the trace ID in the metrics metadata, it should get automatically like merged with the traces or the trace data which comes into. I think there is like work underway to finally make this happen, also in OpenTelemetry.
And why you want to do this and to have, like, when you're looking on traces, is mostly you want to know what's happening from the beginning. So probably in your ingress, you generate the first request ID for the request that's currently happening, and then goes through the whole system the same ID, and then you can easily track what's really happening until to the data store where it's probably fails. So this is mostly what also people sometimes missing in terms of like creating it. I hope now it will scale all the stuff. That will be no interesting.
Let me quickly share my screen.
Yeah, dude.
So I was talking about a little bit about traces at Container Days last week. And one of the things I tried was to use the instrumentation within OpenTelemetry and Nginx, which kind of is loading an Nginx module. Similar, you can also use it with Apache. There's also a web server SDK module. And the idea is that you can like analyze the traces and also compare traces, figure out differences. And the good thing is you can natively deploy it into Kubernetes as well, using their operators for, let me see. This is the project I kept hacking in for OpenTelemetry, for Jaeger, and you potentially also need the cert manager or something. Yeah. So this can like being deployed, and from the Nginx module, I've created a deployment as well. So this is kind of the everyone can contribute cafe, or everyone can contribute service that gets deployed. And the idea basically was to not only have like instrumentation now for the traces, but to generate or use chaos engineering to generate slow requests. So at a certain point, you probably want to alert on traces which either take too long or are missing some context or something else. And I think there's also potential for the collectors or for the tooling to like provide more insights or provide more correlation to that. The thing I tried was like a stress test, then providing the details that this request takes shorter than the other one. And another thing, and this is the last slide I'm showing now, there is an idea in to create these aggregated trace metrics, so that when traces are being sent to OpenTelemetry and Jaeger, that you can again generate metrics out of that and have even like more valuable insights what's going on. So I would say the future is bright. We need to learn many things, and yeah, it's moving fast.
Okay, should I go back? In the meantime, I needed to scale our Kubernetes cluster manually. We don't have an autoscaler here, or autoscaling is not working as accepted. That's another topic. So now you probably can see now that we have like a lot of more services in the sock shop. And for example, the payment is starting. So for that, you can easily check it. So, yeah. And you see that it says, hey, your nodes don't have any CPU anymore. I hope they don't use so much. And I scaled out a second node. So we have now 2 nodes. that are currently running. Now all the containers will be created, so we have a full demo up running. So I hope this is enough then for the workshop. Cool. Let's wait a little bit. So you see also then we have now a second node, so a second server instance. Okay, special. And now look back into our cluster. So we should now see a lot of more things happening. Quite not. Here you see also that the service is now a little bit more talking. Okay, these are the old. Let's use this side. Is it the same? Okay, it's the same that we used before. Okay, so now we can see HTTP. And you see now a lot of more communication is now happening between all the services. No. Do we have also no JVM data? Nice. And as you see, so for example, like that's now interesting. We have also the Sock shops comes also with Java applications. And Java is like a virtual machine, and the virtual machine is like also instrumented. And we can now see, for example, how the application was started with which configuration, and we never instrumented the Java application in the end. I hope now also that we can see now more interesting things like what is this? Most HTTP data. Okay, there we see the front end. This is not so interesting. I'm looking more for the database data. Cool. Here, and this is now interesting. We never instrumented any application to do that, but we can now see also, for example, like when the catalog job is calling the database, and we can see which command was used.
But this only works if the TCP connection to MySQL is not encrypted, right?
Of course, yeah. So, or you need to decrypt it on the fly. I don't know if but this is the same on eBPF. Yeah, on eBPF is the same. Right, yeah. You need to decrypt it. You need to decrypt it. This is the same that would apply if you use Cilium and you want to block HTTP servers or want to see which traffic is in the HTTPS package. That would be technically the same. And I guess we have now also a lot of more stats.
Yeah, the reason I asked, and I've also shared the link in the chat, I've recently read an article how to decrypt traffic with eBPF in Kubernetes, which is super interesting, but also rang a lot of security alarm bells.
Yeah, that's the trade-off that you need to say when you want to have data and you want to encrypt the data in transit is mostly that you don't trust others. But if you are a trust owner, then I would see it not as a problem since you are providing the data. But it's mostly that an attacker could come from outside when you're not in trusted environment. So cloud is not a trusted environment. So you should encrypt every database that you're using and not also in transit, also at rest, so that all the data that is stored in the database is also encrypted on a disk drive. So let's check.
Yeah, the article is a little longer to read, but I found it very insightful.
Okay, that's my homework for the night. What I will read. Yeah, but now we have all the applications running. That's quite cool. Let's probably try to check what's more inside the Pixie. I think I disabled the.
I'm wondering if there is a Pixie script for the SOX demo.
Yeah, they have like, let's check here, continuous monitoring. You probably can use it directly. Monitoring the demo application. Page namespace, okay, and then click on page namespace. Okay, let's click on the following script, the page namespace. Page namespace.
But they do have a tutorial for database query profiling. Ah, it's in Pixie 101 tutorials in the documentation.
Okay, namespaces. We can see only the data for discrete. Ah, that's what I looked for. That's not so interesting. So now we have also, like, when you click on Pixie namespace, you can select then a separate namespace. We now used our demo application here.
If you open the tutorial I showed you, I linked you.
Which one? This one?
This one.
Okay, I need.
Which
Maestro sets, yeah. Okay, we can roll
yeah.
that afterwards. Okay. Let's do the first one that we saw. So I clicked on namespaces. I selected under the namespace our Pixie search shop. And now we did a total services, and we can see also the latency profiles of each service. So fast 99 for when P99 means like 99% of all requests takes 1 second. We see the HTTP request throughput and also the error rate for each service. I hope and also we can see which application uses like which bit size, and probably now when we click on the front end, it shows us the latency, the response data, and now we can also see each inbound HTTP traffic and what's happening. Okay, this is the error rate. And we can here also see the data. In terms of that the front end probably did a request to /card, and it says, yeah, it doesn't work, you get a 500 back. And you can see also which data was asked for in a post. So you can see the full request body. Regarding the MySQL thing, let's go to MySQL. It was stats. We I cannot select it here.
There's a drop down from the script. The script shows latency, error, and throughput over time for all MySQL requests in the cluster. Select the drop down arrow next to the port argument. Type.
I did it. MySQL. So when I put MySQL sets in there, okay, I know I broke it.
Next to type px-sock-shop/catalog. Press enter to rerun the script. Okay.
I think when it doesn't find anything, it will show you all. So we see here already the ph shop. So I try to copy it.
I'm not sure if copy paste works.
Copy and paste works every time.
Yeah, but only if the UI allows it.
Let's check MySQL stats. Ha! I'm a magician. It works now. I don't know why, but it works.
Yeah, because you selected the pod.
I think this is exactly what Michi wanted to do before.
Did I do that? I'm just reading what it says in the documentation. I have no idea what it does.
What gonna do now? So we can see here now.
It's like, okay, it's limiting on the pod. Oh, interesting. Probably it should be auto-completed because the pod name is different to, yeah, the catalog.
Here. Here, for example, now you can see that the catalog makes a request to the catalog DB. And then you can see also the SQL query for the full application. So what the application is doing. That's very cool.
And then there is something about normalized queries. Ooh, this is complicated.
Yeah, this is like another exercise. So when you are having it running, you know what you do, then it's more simpler to.
Yeah, it's like when you're, for example, using parameter bindings, we have the question mark placeholder, and you're kind of reusing the SQL statement all the time, which often is much more performant because the server caches, or the server could potentially cache the query execution plan and strategy rather than parsing and evaluating the SQL string statement all the time. But opinions differ on that strategy. Individual full body request. Okay, this is what we have been looking at. And there are community scripts available for PostgreSQL, Redis, and Cassandra. Pixie has a feature which is called always on profiling. You can generate a flame graph.
You mean normalized trees? It's like a white chart.
Okay. And then it's something else. It's been quite some time since I was required to design a database scheme, which I'm fortunate, I think.
Okay, this we already saw. But they made it smart. They link in your documentation directly to your to the scripts. So on the cloud product. That's quite cool. So I pressed the PSQL and I got directly redirected to my cluster to the PSQL data.
Okay.
This is also not. Yeah. So we have only MySQL. That's sad. Okay. Yeah, we get also information about the usage of all our applications, about the CPUs.
Is there kind of a way to use these views and create own dashboards? I would assume that maybe not. Thinking of like Grafana dashboards or something like that. This is not a DSL anymore. That's a programming language.
Yeah, this is what I mean. Like when you're writing something like this, it's like not straightforward.
But it's, I think, so like I have a Python background. I think this could be really like appealing to developers to really like extract what you need to do, or not just developers, probably also data scientists and machine learning engineers and others.
Let's check the docs if you can export it into another visualization. So
Pixie export PDF. I think that's probably an enterprise feature, but exporting data into PNG or iframe or something. Integrations and alerts. Grafana Pixie plugin. Oh, you can use Pixie as a data source in Grafana. Interesting.
Yeah, then you would use Grafana for that, for visualization your different data source.
Add a Pixie dashboard. Oh, somehow you can also generate dashboards from Pixie scripts.
Okay.
Or at least they are like available as JSON to be imported into Grafana.
Here we can see like the things.
I think it's like this link, which is in the chat now. You can kind of run a script on the Pixie Grafana data source plugin, and then you get some graphs.
Yeah, but you need to decide which panel or which visualization you used before. So in terms of like when it's like here a diagram, you probably need to know if it should be a heat map or something like that, or a table.
Yeah, I think it's like this is just the query parts, and then you kind of select what how the data should be shown, or what other queries you probably want to group or correlate with.
Yeah. You can also export over data as OpenTelemetry.
Yep, that's in the menu on the left-hand side is the next point. Yeah, deploying an OpenTelemetry collector in your cluster is rather easy using the OpenTelemetry operator. It still says it's unstable, but for testing it kind of works.
Yeah, we in EKS supports it, I think, out of box right now. You can do like
AWS has a distribution of OpenTelemetry.
yeah,
A distribution is kind of a package binary version, which also has more enrichments with metadata or plugins or whatnot.
The thing, yeah, the AWS distro for OpenTelemetry.
Yeah.
I never used it.
Oh, that's interesting. It's natively integrated. But yeah, I remember, I think Michael Hausenplas shared that a while ago. They also have like an MKDocs website where they're sharing integrations.
Okay, this is like really normal thing. Yeah, and then you can send it to your data source. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, but that's like really cool. So we never instrumented any application, and we see over data in there. And then you can do a lot of more fancy stuff in terms of like using this data with machine learning, and then optimize your cluster dynamically.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how this evolves.
Yeah, it's interesting if it's really community driven or only some people are using it. So technically, so for example, when you start with eBPF, so I think the first thing that I would do technically is start adopting Cilium for my network. So then I see already all the packages. So how I would do tracing, probably I would not go directly with OpenTelemetry way. I would probably think for vendor login directly to get more features out of it. In a small company, if you're in a bigger company, for example, like we now have with a sock shop, so that you have different services, you need to support different profiles. It's probably worth to look into Pixie so that you can reduce the burden of every application team needs to instrument their applications. Yeah, and I don't know how resource hungry it is. So
yeah, scaling and performance and resource, like what is like the cost of running it in your Kubernetes cluster would be interesting in comparison. And the other thing is like auto instrumentation sounds super nice and super easy. But it's like there are like best practices around for different languages, and it could be that exactly the language your team is writing software in is not fully supported, or there are like problems of matching metrics and syscalls to the code and doing things. So I think
yeah,
it's
auto
still like,
remediation. So yeah, that's mostly what people not like to tend to do.
it's it could be like a problem if you're looking like into Java, where the JVM is kind of made for auto instrumentation. It's easier. But I'm also like looking forward, because currently I'm seeing a lot of startups in the observability and eBPF space. They are using eBPF to do auto instrumentation of code. And it will be interesting how far the competition and innovation is going. But yeah, Pixie, Cilium, probably, and also Tetragon are probably the platforms to get started with, I would say. Also, like security related, Falco and Tracy, and I don't know.
I would see.
There are many like tools to get started with. I would say like getting to know the environment. These tools help, but in the end, like if you need like to make customizations, or if you want to see if it's compliant with specific ISO certifications and whatnot, understanding eBPF and how it works in the background is also required.
Yeah, but it's not in terms of for the compliance, it's not required to understand fully. You need only to know how the data goes in, how the data goes out. So
yeah, I think it could be an interesting like fact how the data is stored and what are like the potential attack vectors or something like that.
Yeah. I'm checking now if Pixie is already on the open APM. Oh, interesting. Oh, probably it's no, but I would see it also as an APM.
Yeah. Partially, I think I'm not sure if like APM is still the right term, because every like big vendor moved from APM to observability. Some did a rebranding, some provided real ways to like do observability, because I see Nagios on that list here for dashboarding, which doesn't feel right.
Yeah, okay, you're right.
I don't know. I remember that page. I think it's more like it's more monitoring focused. But on the other side, there is Zipkin. I think it's open source, so we can kind of contribute.
Yeah, probably improve the documentation. So, and to simplify the EKS CTL. Yeah.
No, I mean, OpenAPM is open source as well, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, Pixie, the things we kind of encountered now or learned now could also be contributed.
In the end, without the storage problem, it was quite easy to deploy. And we could see a lot of data in there already. It would be now more interesting if we can also host it the cloud stuff for ourselves, that we never would leave the data out there. And probably to check, because they say they don't store the data. I tried not sure how it works. So that's like the missing point, but they say they don't do it. So that the data is in your infrastructure, it would never leave the system.
I think it needs kind of for updating or for lifecycle management, the cloud is needed. But I don't think it's like it's optional to store the data in the cloud, but then it's like a paid tier or something.
Since they really say no customer data stored outside your network. What are they doing?
Yeah, potentially it's like a usage ping or service that allows them to like track things and also provide you the ability to upgrade when, for example, a security release comes up or something.
Yeah.
But I would say, since it's like an open source project in the CNCF Foundation or CNCF umbrella, it shouldn't like have the requirement to phone home. You could run it in your cluster and have no internet, and theoretically it should be working with using your own container registry proxy or something like that.
Mm.
Maybe. I think Cilium works the same way. You can deploy it in an offline environment, theoretically, if you're providing kind of access to the container images and package dependencies which might be installed.
Yeah.
I think the easiest way is to sniff all the traffic and to see whether what the communication is with the Pixie cloud.
Another option is to ask for people in an issue. What's they start to understand that would be.
Maybe it would also be an option to try to deploy Pixie into Minikube, onto Minikube cluster, and turn off the internet.
They have
on your
also an
machine.
installation guide already for
Yeah,
and all
but
this stuff.
there's a limitation for Minikube. For Mac M1 series, it does not work currently.
Here you see self-hosted.
There's also a self-hosted thing.
So AirGap means you don't have any internet connection.
Yeah.
So
okay. Yeah, but would be same thing, like trying it in a Minikube cluster, I think, if Minikube runs on your local machine.
Oh, it's cool that they actually like document the errors you're seeing.
Yeah.
Oh, Chrome DevTools console. Okay. Yeah, but in the end, it works, but it's probably not the cleanest solution. So, or it requires more maintenance rather than just using what is already there in the SaaS free platform.
Yeah.
And from a product perspective, it's kind of logically to say, hey, we kind of offer this for free, and if you want to use more, here you go. Because I think this is also the reason why we are seeing like the chat button or something like that.
And I think it's not only a derivation or like an incubation project of New Relic in the end. So since New Relic probably has a lot of interest to adopt it mostly in the white for their own system and for the enterprise customers.
Yeah, definitely. The project itself, so like this is on like Pixie, has 52 contributors. Bless you.
Thanks.
Yeah. So it's pretty active, and I think so. PixieLabs.ai. Probably there is like additional services like machine learning and other things on top, which are like anomaly detection or specific what is called AI ops at the moment, or has been called like assisted tips and tricks or remediation or code patches or whatever, which then like originates from an enterprise feature.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, but it was like a cool trip to see how it works and how easy it works in the end. So nothing really to configure.
Yeah, and the cool thing is the Pixie blog also has nice articles to learn about, because yesterday I read an article about monitoring gRPC connections with ePPF, because gRPC is kind of everywhere where you have microservices for communication.
Yeah.
And it's not the easiest to debug, I would say. And there's an article on the Pixie blog as well. I will be adding this to my opsindev.newsletter,
Nice.
which isn't published yet because I was running out of time, but it will be published soon.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Anything else we missed?
I guess not. We've deployed it. Oh, we should down.
Oh, Let me share my screen. Be a Pixie node. Not? I don't know. There's like the community page, getting involved. There's a Slack channel. There is a meetup, Twitter, the repositories, and the governance.
Oh, why can they not be in the Kubernetes Slack?
Ooh.
I need to register. Oh. Okay.
Do we need to register?
Yeah, it's in all Slack. It's like, I think not VR.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, then I'm coming back to my problem in Slack that I'm in 20 workspace or something like that. So
yeah, I have the same problem. But
like
I have most of them muted. So
yeah, that's. But then why should I be there? So I mean, when
yeah, in
I
the end,
read...
if you care about the community and the project, you probably will be active in there.
Yeah.
So this is something like probably shouldn't be spoiling something, but I'm kind of active in the CNC. No, I'm not active in anyone, but I'm trying to be as active as possible. But the problem is synchronous chat is killing my time, so I prefer async communication. But this is the Twitter account. Doing some free advertisements now. It needs some followers actually. So, oh, and this is, by the way, the reason why I found the article.
Oh, nice. Ah, they're also talking about Strimzi. Oh, about Kafka.
Probably. What else? Enterprise offering Pixie support. Interesting. Okay. It's Pixie Labs is a community offering by New Relic. No, I got that right. Okay. They also have a YouTube channel.
In one of the blog posts there was also mentioned one engineer is a senior principal engineer at New Relic, and she's also founding engineer of Pixie. So I think it was an outcome. But, oh, they have a lot of videos.
Ooh, learning videos. Yeah, I do remember talking with someone from Pixie after my KubeCon talk in Valencia, and we kind of chatted around SLOs and eBPF and what I'm thinking about this. But since then, I wanted to try Pixie, and now we finally got around it. I think for some reason it didn't work in Zero Cloud. That was probably my blocker. But yeah, what else? No, I'm just saying that everyone needs to click on the Get Started button and try it out, and open a pull request or merge request to help improve the documentation. Maybe contribute some Pixie scripts when you have created some for your environment. Yeah, and looking forward to what else we can learn in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, then thanks for preparing the cluster and doing some live debugging in the beginning, dear Niklas.
Like every time, like debugging something.
Yeah, but I think it's a great way to follow along how someone approaches a problem, and like different ways to, hey, I'm not Googling for this, but yes, you probably could be Googling. No, it's a different way, and so on. I think it's authentic and helps folks to learn in the future. And also thanks to Sven for joining today. Like the joke we made in the beginning without the recording. Happy New Year.
Yeah, same for you.
Hopefully you will see us.
Yeah, it was fun to be part of the Contribute Coffee again, and I learned much about Pixie, which is quite nice and interesting tool, which I maybe try to adopt in my own projects because it looks very nice to not having instrumenting all services that are deployed in the cluster. So might be a nice thing to learn for the future. So also special thanks to Niklas again for preparing and explaining some of the
No worries.
basics around metrics and observability. Yeah.
And maybe write a blog post about your experience and your learnings.
That would be my plan. I'll do more towards blogging in the future because I tweeted a few weeks ago. I'm currently learning or preparing for CKAD certification. So there will be live streams showing me trying to manage Kubernetes and learn that. And planning to do side projects for those streams. So maybe there will be one or another episode featuring Pixie or something like observability in a Kubernetes context.
Cool. Let me know if I can amplify or like encourage folks to join you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
Probably
Definitely.
should you connect to Philip, because Philip, I think, has every certification. So yes, the CKA, the CKAD, and the CSK.
Yeah. Oh, damn. So like he's like a prophet.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah,
maybe I should reconnect with him.
He's an
or
expert.
I'll ask you.
Yeah.
Currently, he's head of no work because he's on vacation. But I think he will be back soon.
Yeah, I think in 1 or 2 weeks.
No stress from my side.
Yeah.
I have a lot of work to do.
But what really also in the end would be great to hear about your story about how the CKAD was for you. So that's mostly very interesting. So because it's probably different for people.
I read a few blogs about it, and they all were like, yeah, it's a good certification, but it's pretty hard to do it if you're not like on a structured learning path or something like that. And yeah, I think most people wrote something like CKS and CKA certificates are even harder than CKAD. But it's the most basic one of those three. For me right now, it's I'll let myself be surprised. We'll see.
Yeah.
I think in the end it will work out.
Yeah. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, it's all about mindset, right?
Yeah. You need to think that you get bit radiation, then you will get bit radiation.
Yeah, sure.
Definitely. Looking forward to congratulate you. Well, or to say cheers. My English is not good today. When you pass the exam, that's the thing.
I'll let you know. I'll join the next Contribute Coffee then. Finally, I did it, guys.
Nice.
No, just let us know async. Don't wait.
Yeah, sure. No problem.
And potentially, depending on where are you located, I don't know exactly.
I'm Nordrhein-Westfalen, in Germany.
Which is near Niklas, I think.
Yeah, 1 hour away from me, probably.
Oh, where are you?
I'm living in the good old Wattenscheid.
Yeah, heard about that one.
So everyone hated about Wattenscheid. Now it's mostly close to Bochum, and so I'm really in the Ruhr Valley. So.
Nice. Is there something like a community in NRW too, like a GitLab meetup in Hamburg or something like that?
I don't know if I don't know that someone is organizing currently GitLab meetups there, but I organized in the past like meetups for Cloud Native and different meetups. And now it seems like after we now hitting the pandemic, or after the pandemic, that now more conferences coming, so meetups will also come. So the problem is like finding a place, finding speaker, like these are the most things that are mostly hard to do, but I guess they will come. So probably finding some companies that want to host, and that I think will work out. So I still plan to attend now to some AWS user groups again, and also conferences to make some advertisement for conferences. If you're interested in Kubernetes and the community, you should probably join in October the Kubernetes Community Days in Munich. So that's like, it's not, it's
do you have
far
the date?
away, but here is also like expensive. It's like reachable. It's not like quite expensive like YouTube or something like that, but because it's a community event. So I can recommend that.
Oh yeah, it sounds great.
Yeah,
I never get it.
My question was also like related to that, like keep an eye out for community or events you want to attend and where we are at, and we could potentially meet in person. And we also discussed doing hybrid meetups. Not sure how this exactly would work, but in the end, I think it's like getting together as a group who met 2.5 years ago, or in the past 2.5 years ago, and kind of make a personal conversation happen, which we enjoyed at Container Days last week. But think like everyone should be, at some point, we should meet in person. And
yeah, probably we make like a 2-sitting room in the everyone controversy, but we can meet at least for coffee. I can, mostly since I have a good employer, so that I can also work from everywhere. So it means I can also easily join Aachen, work a day there, and we can still meet up for beer or something like that, or coffee.
Yeah, sure thing. Looking forward to that, and I think I'm trying to convince Nico and Philip doing something in Rosenheim, which is kind of between Munich and Salzburg in Austria. But we will see about this. So it's like,
yeah,
who wants to invest what, and who needs to drive where?
Or and can say also not.
Yeah, I can. For me, it's like I'm getting into my car and I'm driving to a place, and probably some hotel or sleeping places in there.
Yeah.
And the other way around. So if we're planning on something in Nuremberg, can also couch is available, or we do something in somewhere else. It's just, yeah, the community Kubernetes community days in Munich, and potentially, yeah, PromCon is also in Munich in November, early November. But I'm not sure. I've submitted the talk. Let's see.
But they're mostly the ticket limit is really short, so only 200 tickets or something like that, or 300, and then they are already sold out. So it's like when it's mostly done, that goes pretty fast sold for PromCon.
Probably. You can. No, the registration will open soon. Okay.
Yeah, and they make it close to the event, so because they know that all the people will attend there. But it's a true conference, I can recommend it. If you're interested in monitoring what's going up.
Definitely. And I got accepted to speak at another talk, which I cannot talk about yet, another event. But yeah, I'm looking forward to meet everyone. And if not this year, maybe next year.
Probably KubeCon and Europe.
Yeah, this will be in April
Amsterdam.
something,
yeah.
In Amsterdam. Yeah, I think that's it. Like our CFP issues and epics are all public, so this is kind of my tracking sheet for what's going on. I would really need to plan for next year already. Anyhow, thanks for joining today. This is the time where we say goodbye on YouTube. Bye.
Adios.
See you next month.